Does Sonic Frontiers feel like a Sonic game? Does it contain all the important ingredients of flair, snappy controls, and above all else, does it melt your eyes with its sheer speed? And for you youngsters relatively new to the franchise, why all the fuss over Sonic in the first place? It's just an old school platform game that millennials have a Tommy Tank to, right? Well, fear not, my pedigree chums, because Reggie and the boys will answer this and more in today's rather fabulous review. Before we get stuck into Sonic Frontiers, let's just remind ourselves what made the original Sonic so bloody special. Back in 1991, a little blue hedgehog dared to take on the grip of the Italian stallion that we know as Mario. Oh by God people, Sonic blew us away because it fundamentally offered a very different experience. The first major characteristic of Sonic was its speed. You'd be able to fly through levels by jumping and hitting enemies in such a way that you could bounce off one onto another. The game was also vibrant, colourful, animated well, and was a highly polished big game release. The levels were well designed, offering those little nooks and crannies in the form of secret passageways, and the sound was catchy as fuck, punchy, with some wonderful little sound effects. Overall, Sonic the Hedgehog felt tight, that's what she said, with great gameplay mechanics, beautiful sounds, beautiful levels, and was just sheer fun. And for me, the closest we ever came to the magic of those early years of Sonic was probably the WoW chase scene in Sonic Adventure. But Sonic is now a bit like Elon Musk. You sort of used to really like what they stood for, but of late they've become an annoying and tedious part of the world, and it's hard to imagine what it was like in their heyday. So then, does Sonic Frontiers reimagine the franchise? Does it manage to bottle up the original core features from 1991 and bring them to our screens in 2022? Well, sadly the answer to that is a resounding no. Sonic Frontier has an identity crisis in that it feels like a standard platform game featuring a hedgehog versus a Sonic game with amazing platform elements. Now, the transition to a more open world is no bad thing, but it lacks the pedigree and vitality of the golden Sonic era. It's like watching your favourite porn star get old. The newer videos just aren't quite as sexy as the old ones. Let's talk about the basics to understand why this is a load of convoluted tosh. So, the game is split into 5 different islands. On each island, you have to collect tokens, potentially 200 of the buggers, so that you can help free your mates, such as Knuckles and Amy. These tokens are littered throughout the open world, and whilst in other games these might be deemed more of a side quest or collectible, here in Sonic Frontier, they're actually critical to actually progressing the game, as sometimes your mates will have a Chaos Emerald supplied from other little characters called the Coco. The tediousness of finding the fucking tokens becomes all too real, but fear not. To get other emeralds, you must also find cogs. You'll find these off various mini bosses throughout each map, among other locations, and these cogs are going to help open portals. Bear with me, boys and girls, because this nonsense doesn't stop here. Once you use these cogs to open the portals, you'll be treated to a level more reminiscent of the Sonic of yesteryear. But alas, these levels are only 1 to 2 minutes long, and there are only 5 to 6 portals per map. Upon the completion of the portals, you'll be given some vault keys. Now, these vault keys are there to open the Chaos Emeralds, which are locked across each island. Once you have all the emeralds, you'll be able to take on the final boss of each island, which I must add, by the way, is pretty bloody fun and quite striking. Now, rinse and fucking repeat that process for every single island, and each map is a drawn out affair taking quite a few hours to complete. Why they didn't have the open world as a more story driven campaign littered with these additional portal levels is beyond me, versus utter trivial nonsense that becomes predictable and boring very early on. As it is though, it's just depressing. The next major issue here comes to the level design. You get the impression they weren't too sure what to do with the open world maps at times, and rather it be raucous fun, instead you are left with big open sparse areas with these little zones of fun, usually in the form of some just random floating rails and springs that once stepped upon, a segment of 15 seconds or so of madness ensues as Sonic darts in all directions collecting coins or those bloody stupid tokens. It's these glimpses of speed which helps pull the game through, but generally speaking the map feels void of life. Enemies are always mechanical in nature and they don't look all that enjoyable to take on. There's a few people to converse with, if any, and you'll sprint across open greens or sand just to come to another little mini zone of fun. Condensing these maps in a big way, making them far more intricate and connected, would have done the world of good. I mean, just look here, people. The original Sonic, it had copious amounts of happening on screen for its time. You had enemies, places to jump, directions to go, all in a 2D world. It was small in scale, but that's okay, because there was always shit to do. And yet, when you compare it to the 3D version that we have here, you can see how it's just filler to help push you through to the next objective. It's open and sparse, and Sonic himself only really comes to full speed once 400 coins are collected. Before then though, I don't feel that iron melting speed that Sonic games were known for. Where Sonic does put it back though, is in the form of those portal levels. There aren't many of them, but when they happen, they feel like the Sonic of old. They could do with some more polish and better camera angle work to stop the annoying deaths, but a more linear approach here actually helps bring that Sonic magic. You'll see enemies of old bumbling along the loops of the road, the springs that are placed in just the right places to progress, and things feel fast. Sometimes these levels happen in the form of more 3DS style versus what Reggie refers, which is the 2D style, but whatever you're given, these for me are the highlights of the game, but there just isn't enough of it. I do have to hand it to the Sonic team though on their boss design. They're all played out differently, each having a unique way to defeat them, and whilst never impossible, they did feel challenging but also logical in how to break the enemy down. Again, it's another glimpse of brilliance filled with a lot of tedium in between. Graphically, Sonic is okay. I'm playing on the PC at 4K, and generally speaking it pulls through, but what the fuck is this, people? Look at it, jarring, popping, with zero rationale as to why it's there other than lazy performance and lazy programming. You could be at a walking pace and the background, it just pops in. And sometimes these are critical areas such as key platforms or springs you need to grab hold of. Now imagine trying that at speed. What is that bonkers to me is that the Sonic games live and die by the sheer speed. So to have this kind of pop in on a game that demands quick and concise controls is fucking stupid. As for the other touches, there is a day and night cycle which I do appreciate, and rain will fall and provide a shiny surface, but overall it looks drab. The rain droplets, as an example, are clearly just animated over Sonic's body, but done in such a way that it doesn't look like rain, but rather like television grain akin to the Poltergeist movies. Textures are pretty standard, but there is a lack of depth to the rocks and walls with little tessellation on display. Things feel all a bit blocky, and generally speaking they've not utilised enough different materials to give vibrancy to the world of Sonic. I'd like to see more wood, that's what she said, more glass, far more particle effects, and just generally more oomph to proceedings. However, the art style is strong and the colours are vibrant enough to at least look and feel Sonic in style. There's also some lovely little touches, in particular when Sonic is at full speed and you get that lovely blue glow. It runs pretty well too from a frame rate perspective, so overall it's mutton dressed as lamb. Sound is a big turn off for Reggie because musically it actually sounds wonderful with these relaxing and melancholic tunes which sound like you could be having a chicken tikka masala in an Indian restaurant. Off, will ya? I'm here to play Sonic, not eat poppadoms. I mean, just listen to the musical difference again. From the old Sonic games to this, it's night and day. I'm not asking for 8-bit songs, but I'm asking for a bit of magic here, a bit more understanding of what makes a great Sonic game. I tell you who does it bloody well, boys and girls. Mario. Listen to any recent Mario game and it has the same catchy, bumpy tunes it's always had, as well as new ones being introduced. Not this sorry state of affairs, which feels more at home in a funeral parlour. Where it does pick up though, is again in those portal levels where the tempo rises and you feel like your old mate has shown up for a bloody good time. Sound effect wise it's pretty strong, and I do appreciate the variety here, and thankfully they sound true to the Sonic DNA. So Sonic Frontiers then, I wanted to love it. Sonic is my childhood, and I do give the team credit for trying something new and for looking to add a more open world approach, but the story should not be shackled by finding a load of crap. An entirely different approach was needed here. The sound is a big letdown, and overall, the game is lacking something. It's lacking that Sonic formula. This isn't about one or two missing ingredients. Instead, it's more about the overall cake. It lacks that Sonic flavour, that Sonic bite, and doesn't feel like it should. I'm sad to report then, I just miss my blue friend. Until next time, people, have a lovely day. Reggie out.